How many of you have a sense of humor? Well, we all have a sense of humor, and if not, I think you're in accounting. No, I'm just kidding. Insert any,
That's humor.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing the time with us today. I'm joined here with Jef Rawls, the producer and creator of the Charismatic Connector. Yeah. So Jef, tell me, what's the background? How did you come up with this program, and what are we looking at here?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. This message of the Charismatic Connector really is a passion of mine. For the last 23 years, I've been working in the improv, entertainment, comedy industry, and in teaching those techniques to performers to get on stage, I've really found that there is this personality type that is optimized with certain principles. And to be able to bring that information and teach that information to individuals and corporations and really anybody who will listen has just been fantastic.
It's interesting. We don't spend a lot of time. There's a lot of performance management and leadership management, transactional elements of business, but and soft skills comes to mind, right? But this element in bringing people together, engaging them, there's some real benefits when you get this stuff right.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I ask people, when it comes to your sense of humor, are you utilizing that at work? And if you're not, where are you getting the training to optimize your sense of humor and bring that with you to work? What are some of the benefits of bringing your sense of humor? What are some of the benefits of bringing your personality to work? Because you do bring your personality to work, and it's associated with those skills that are required within whatever industry that you're in.
Yeah, and so the difference in being improv and comedians and comedy, and a lot of people feel that probably don't, like, this isn't for me, I'm not this way, right? But what's the difference between humor and comedy?
That really is like the golden question. Because usually when I'm in front of an audience, I'll ask them, like, hey, raise your hand if you consider yourself to be a comedian. Well, you might get a smart aleck here or two, or legitimately somebody who's like, yeah, I dabble in comedy. But most everybody's like, ugh. Or they'll actually point out, like, oh, Bobby over here, he's hysterical, right? But when I ask people, how many of you have a sense of humor? Well, we all have a sense of humor, and if not, I think you're in accounting. No, I'm just kidding. Insert any,
That's humor.
Exactly. And so when we think of ourselves as comedians, it's getting up on stage and performing, and there's no way that I'm going to do that. There's a lot of fear, and I'm just not considered funny. Well, in a conversation, whether it's with a customer or coworker or client, your spouse, your kids, a neighbor, a friend, whenever you're having a conversation, you should have your sense of humor with you, right? And probably the funniest times of your life are when you're just hanging out with friends and somebody says something and you pop off with that, and you're not telling a joke, but it's funny, it's in the moment, you take advantage of that. Well, when you can bring that to work and do that with clients and customers, obviously on a professional level, that you're not crossing any lines and making sure that it's appropriate humor, well, now you're actually going to start to move the needle. Here's one of the statistics that just blows my mind. In terms of like, oh yeah, I need to take this kind of course. 84% of people would much rather do business with someone who has a sense of humor. And when you hear it like that, you're like, yeah, of course I would.
Right.
I'd much rather sit down and have a conversation with somebody who's, jovial and likable and personality, and it's like, hey, we're here to have a good time and not just data.
Right. What do we know about laughter though? Because you cannot be, even when you're in gratitude, it's impossible to be, in a bad mood, right?
Right.
So just the exercise of just being in gratitude. I mean, when you get it to the laughter levels, it's like everything goes away, all your problems, all your concerns, whatever. And if you can put the customers in that experience and not be comedians, but really foster that memorable experience. I was with my son. We were traveling, and something had happened, and we just immediately went to the Dumb and Dumber clips, and we just rattled off like the whole
quoting movies,
half the movie. And from "You're telling me there's a chance" to I think somebody told us you can't get this because of the timing or whatever, and so immediately it was to the comedy. But we remembered that. Yeah. Do we remember humorous moments more than others? And,
you bet. Yeah. You bet. There is scientific evidence that there is what's called humor attraction.
Okay.
Right? So one that is very obvious is, what do you look for in a spouse? What do you look for in a mate, right? Top 3 qualities usually include sense of humor. She or he has to have a sense of humor. Right. Like it's like 99.999% of people say that is a qualifier as to the type of individual that I'm attracted to. So when you take that same humor attraction and you take the intimacy out of it, I'm attracted to somebody, I'm attracted to my wife because she makes me laugh and she laughs at me, there's that kind of an intimate attraction. When you take that out of there and you put in the same attraction that you feel towards a friend, right? I love hanging out with this person or these people, this group, because they make me laugh. Like there's this magnetism. I love hanging out with them. Now let's take that same magnetism and put it in the work environment. What are the companies? Who are the individuals, the employees, the salesmen, the CEOs, it doesn't matter what level. What is it about them that attracts me to? When I'm away from them, I'm thinking about their organization, or I'm thinking about that individual person because there's an attraction. They make me laugh. They make me feel good.
That's interesting. There's a lot of companies out there that the process by which they serve customers, like, the apartment industry, right? The multifamily industry is sometimes can be, it could present its challenges. And you've got a lot, you're managing spaces and living environments where people work. It's not like you go to a restaurant, it's like, well, here's a free dessert. And, customers kind of go their own way. I mean, so I think a lot of the employees that are going through the journey of becoming leaders in the organizations, they're problem solvers. The world is coming at them. They're reacting to people that may be having issues, not paying rent or compliance issues, or, the residents sometimes don't come in and talk to them unless there's a problem, right? And so having a balance just from the employee morale, right. Has a little bit better of an impact to your ability to do business, I would think.
You bet.
So the world's coming at us. How do we foster that? I mean, you've got the 10 C's. I'm excited to go through the course.
Everything that you just said, mentally I was going through the checklist of collaboration. It's problem solving with creativity. You're communicating with them, not just to throw data at them, but to connect with them, to establish a relationship and a bond. And like I said, maybe that humor attraction that, when I come at you with a problem, I know that you're open. You've got this open door policy, not because of anything other than I can see your behaviors, those truth signals of behaviors that say, this is the kind of guy that I can trust with my problem. And I know that he's going to assist me in a positive way, and we're going to accomplish it. So there's all of these moving cogs that within the Charismatic Connector kind of encompasses all of that says, this is the kind of guy that A, I want to work with, or B, as a customer, I want to come to this kind of a salesman, an employee or leader.
Yeah, and I've got my notes here from the 10 C's. I mean, you're talking about connector, that being one of them, creativity, another one. In charisma, I mean, you're talking about bringing energy to conversations. Do people buy more when they're more excited? I mean, I know that
yes,
you see it in the obvious environments, but this is an improving sales, not just employee morale or customer service. I mean, you could perform more, you could rent more, you could buy, sell something.
You bet.
At higher levels with you.
You bet. So a charismatic connector, just kind of pull the curtain back on what's next. A charismatic connector, when they greet somebody for the very first time, whether it's customer, whether it's on a friendly, or networking, human behavior has this tendency to make this long extension handshake and then a withdraw and say, I want to get to know you and learn about you. The charismatic connector steps into it with that energy, with that engagement, as if they already like, admire, respect, and treat this person as if they are important. From there, the relationship is no longer here, it's here. I've seen complete strangers greet each other with hugs with this kind of behaviors. Now, obviously, on a professional level, you're not going to, somebody walks in the front door, is like, "Hey, welcome, welcome to the business." Hug,
Right.
But there is an energy that comes from that kind of mentality and behavior.
Where else do you get this information if no one's teaching it, right? I mean, you've discovered. I mean, I look at you look at successful people, and you look at how do they walk into any situation and always make an impact? And, the qualities that you're describing, they have these things. And is it the environment that teaches it? Obviously, the course is going to walk people through how to develop it for themselves and for others. But how do you get this?
I do think that there are a lot of, little different touch points throughout our life that by experience we recognize, like, hey, if I'll just treat this guy with kindness, I'll actually get a better sale,
Right.
And so almost maybe by hard knocks, or that there's, different individual courses by other trainers that say, hey, this plus this, and you kind of put it all together and say, yeah, by this experience. But I don't know too many people who are developing the personality. How can you be more personable, utilizing humor and elevating, leveling up your charisma to bring that to work?
So is that something we can develop? I mean, some people with a fixed mindset might say, this is where I am. I'm in due diligence. I'm in compliance. I'm a numbers person, right? I'm not this. Can you develop that?
So there are studies out of MIT, a number of other places, that say that these kinds of behaviors, if you will show these, display these kinds of behaviors, much of which are described here in the course, that they can actually predict, based off of these behaviors, like putting all of these charismatic connector type people into one group, they could predict the success at a greater rate than the rest of the team if everybody was each team was placed, kind of the same task. This team right here would actually perform at 68% more effectiveness because of the collaboration, because of the creativity. They're allowing themselves, excuse me, that they're not judging themselves, they're not judging each other, saying, hey, what ideas do we have? Let's move forward.
Yeah. I'm excited to, show the course and get people involved in enrolling in it and sharing the time with you one-on-one, because you're going to go deep on these things, and it's going to allow them to create some results. So it's not just, I want to be more of a connector. I mean, this is going to be bottom line results for their business, for themselves, better promotions, better sales, better results for the company, all the things that we all want. And this is a great tool. So I appreciate you taking the time to walk us through this.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Let's do this.
All right.